Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. And so this will be my last Dhamma talk coming to you from Thailand. So later on today, I'll be leaving Ubon, leaving Wat Pah Nanachat, and heading to Bangkok. And then tomorrow I'll be heading out, leaving Thailand. So my visit here has gone very quickly. You know, it was a lot shorter than I had originally planned. Just kind of circumstances came up. But one of the things that made it feel like it went even quicker was for almost the entire time I've been here, I've been really sick. I've recovered now, but I had this really heavy flu and very much in the head. And so a lot of the time was just taken up resting, recovering from this flu. And but it's this is these times of sickness, times of illness. These are things that, we all go through and we all go and it's just part of life, part of nature, part of having a body is that we get sick. And it can be a very fascinating uh reflection for us. So, you see as, it's starting to get sick. So just before I left to come to Thailand, I was starting to get sick. And, you could see every day you're getting a little sicker, and you could see how it's progressing. And even though you don't want to get sick because you're like, oh man, I'm traveling in a couple days, um, I don't want to be sick. You can't control it, and it's a process of nature. This is just part of the body. And, it can really show us and be, a reflection for us on the non-self of the body and just the fact that, we don't have control, of ourselves. Our body is part of nature. It's a natural process. So no matter how badly you don't want to get sick, that's not enough to stop it. You don't have that level of control. You can do stuff like rest, eat healthy food, take medicine to try to help stop it, either get better quickly or not get as sick. But you can't just by an act of will, an act of control, say, I'm not going to get sick. It's very similar to, if you're uh, uh, raising a plant, you can't make the plant do stuff. You can't say, okay, you will be big or you will grow fast. You can manipulate circumstances to help it grow. So you give it water, you can give it fertilizer, make sure it gets enough sunlight, keep the pests off of it and manipulate it that way to grow. But you can't actually just control it. You can't pull on the leaves and make it go faster. You can't yell at it to grow faster. It just follows nature. And so, our bodies are the same. And part of this human life, this human condition is sickness. The Buddha said we have, old age, sickness, and death. This is, just part of our experience. So being able to reflect on this and reflect on um also the fragility of our life, of our bodies, because when you're healthy, it's very easy to, you never think you're going to get sick. You always kind of, feel you're going to be healthy, everything's going to go well. And, all those things you want to do, you can always procrastinate on them. I'll be fine, I can do it later. But then once you get sick, you're just, it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, actually, this life is fragile, it makes you can raise the sense of urgency, oh, when I am healthy, I'm going to try to practice more because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And but it's really important for us to, even in times of sickness, to continue practice, to continue our Dhamma practice, because it's very easy in times of sickness to feel, okay, well, I just can't practice. I'm sick, my head's not completely there, I'm a little fuzzy, or I don't feel I have any energy, so I just can't practice. Um, but maybe you can't practice in the same way you would when you're healthy, but you can always continue to practice. And especially in a time of sickness, because, in time of illnesses, there can be a lot more of the mental suffering as well as the physical suffering. We start thinking this, why me? Why is this happening to me? I feel I do a lot of good things. I practice dana, I keep my sila, I meditate. I'm trying to be a good person. Why should I be getting sick? I should be healthy. I should be having um, this good karma from it. And I really like one of the teachings that Lumpur Sumedho gives on this. Uh, that he talks about, when people come in and they'll say, I have a friend who's very sick, but they're a good person and they've done so much good in their life. Why does this happen to them? And they're usually looking for some kind of like, oh, well, in their past life, they did this and this, or, some kind of like answer along those lines. But what Lumpur Sumedho says is, well, they get sick because they were born. And this is just the nature of the body. So, when we feel that it's this personal, like, why me? Why is this happening to me? We just have to remind ourselves and keep bringing that up. This is just part of being born. This is the nature of the body. It's nothing personal. And to just keep practicing like that and help alleviate some of that mental suffering we get over sickness. And a lot of times, when we are sick, you know, we can still, meditate. We can still establish our mindfulness. We can still, breathe. Lumpur Sumedho tells this other story of when he was a junior monk, and he was just ordained, I think, 1 year, and he really wanted to go out on what's called tudong, like go wandering on his own. And Lumpur Cha kept saying, no, no, you can't go. But he kept pushing, kept pushing. And finally, Lumpur Cha was like, okay, yeah, yeah, you can go on Tudong, but be back by the rains retreat. So he went off and he went to go stay on this mountain. And very shortly after getting there, he got really, really sick. Like he was just flat out on his back. So the villagers built a little platform for him to lie on with a little tin roof over it. And that was it. And he just was just lying there. And I think it was for a really long period of time too. And just really sick, couldn't do anything, started, really feeling sorry for himself. And then one day it just hit him like, oh, I should practice, I should meditate. So, he sat up and started meditating, and, he started to feel better. Things started to get better. And one of it is just, the changing the mind, the changing the way, you know, um, we perceive these things, because the mind, our mind states does have an effect on our health, does have an effect on how we're doing. And, even if we, physically are suffering and physically can't heal from that, we can still not mentally suffer over it. And so a few weeks ago, we had a monk that I've known right from the time I arrived at Nanachat as a layman. And he wasn't that old. He was in his mid to late 40s, and he died of cancer. And he was this monk, he was just like in his externals, he was pretty really impressive, really diligent. So, he was Lumpur Liam's personal upatak, would take care his attendant, like he would take care of him, he'd do his medicine, he was his Lumpur Liam's translator, for many, many years. He also he just had that character where he would just do whatever was needed. He would help anyone out. You needed something, he was there to help. And he was super diligent. And then he got cancer. And again, it's one of these things you're thinking like, or people will think and look at it like, why him? He's so good. You think that all this merit he's making, all this goodness he's doing should be protecting him from getting ill. It should be helping him get have health, you know, um, and we do believe that, practicing dana, all these things, we are creating good karma and we are going to get good results for them. But we're not sure when these results are going to come to fruit. They may come to fruit this lifetime, they may come to fruit in future lifetimes. And we're going to have to have the results of karma we've created in the past. But one of the things that for doing these practices, practicing our dana, doing all these practices, is it's going to help brighten our mind and create happiness within our own mind, so that when something like this does come up, we are able to um, practice with it. We are able to not suffer over it. Because again, like so much of the suffering over being sick is just that mental suffering. When you get sick, it almost it's like time slows down. It can be almost like every minute, every hour is just slow, and you're just suffering through it, and you're like, oh, when's this going to be over? When's this going to be over? But so this is time, we can come back and practice. Okay, it's like this. Okay, let's go to the breath. Okay, let's try to reduce the mental suffering we're having over this. And so again, it is just one of these conditions of life and things for us to reflect on. And so, sometimes, we can, when it happens to us, of course, that's, we reflect on it, but we can also reflect on it when it's happening to someone else. We see someone else getting sick, and, we can remind ourselves, oh yeah, I'm of the same nature. This can happen to me too. Illness and death is just part of life. And so, we can use that to spur us on to practice, because sometimes it's just getting that inspiration, or getting that drive to practice can be quite difficult. Sometimes things are going well in our life, things are going well in our practice, and it's no problem to sit down and meditate, or no problem to really like keep bringing up dhamma in our life. But sometimes we go through these periods where we're kind of we don't have that inspiration, we don't have that enthusiasm or effort going into it. Maybe we're feeling a little down, or we've just bogged down with other things, or get distracted, or just on kind of a natural energy low. So we can bring up these reflections to help encourage us and help bring up that energy, that effort in practice. So we can think, oh yeah, yeah, I am healthy right now, and I remember what it was like when I was sick, and how tough it was to do things. I should take advantage of the opportunity I have right now, the good circumstances I have right now, and put forth effort into my practice, put forth effort into my meditation, or at least trying to keep sila, trying like our morality, our precepts, practicing generosity. So this constantly coming back and to these practices, and putting forth effort into these practices. So I'd like to offer this to everyone as a bit of a reflection and short encouragement this morning.